Hi, I'm Anna Maria Galazzi, Senior Product Manager of Inventory and Help Desk Management at Frontline Education. I have the privilege and honor of working with over 40 of the largest 100 school districts in the United States, including Chicago Public Schools, Dallas ISD, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools, and Houston ISD. I have been an advisor to districts regarding their inventory practices, and often that includes specially funded assets like ESSER. So today, we're going to talk about the history of ESSER funds and how we got to be in this situation. From there, we will dive into how to manage your technology purchase with ESSER and maintain good inventory practices to help with forecasting for future purchases, rounding out the conversation with where to hold people accountable and get buy-in. As we walk through these steps, my goal for you today is to gain a better understanding of how to move forward in a tough budgeting year, whether that means sitting down and creating your long-term plans or feeling confident in asking for the budget that you need. I want to help you plan where you go from here and how you create a sustainable classroom technology strategy. Okay, so since 2020, school districts across the United States have received funds to help ease the pressure of the pandemic on school children and educators. One of the main forms of release was from the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, better known to us as ESSER. ESSER funds were distributed in three phases, ESSER 1, 2, and 3, with the allocations increasing significantly in each subsequent phase. Funds were allocated based on the federal Title I education funding formula, prioritizing districts with a proportion of low-income students. These funds became critical to supporting various educational needs during the pandemic, including reopening, addressing mental health issues, and improving remote learning structure. To mitigate learning loss, many districts turned to increasing technology inventory to help staff and students instructions. As you can see on my slide here, nationwide, the amount of money ESSER poured into school districts has just been historic. ESSER allowed schools to provide needed resources to students during and after the pandemic. As I mentioned earlier, academic support, infrastructure improvements, and mental health services were the areas that most benefited from ESSER funds. Now, apart from these one-time funds, many states have not seen an increase in its primary education budget since 2019. That has made it challenging for school districts to cover rising expenses, and many have relied on ESSER funds to manage cost increases. Now that these one-time funds have been exhausted, districts are facing budget shortfalls and are required to make cuts to balance their budgets, potentially affecting programs, staff, and resources that were temporarily sustained by the additional funding. So, what are we to do? And what were some of the guidelines that came along with ESSER? Well, there were strict guidelines that schools and districts were faced with for how ESSER funds could be spent, which focused on pandemic-related expenses and education recovery efforts. As more funds became available with ESSER 2 and 3, reallocation of those funds became encouraged from federal and state resources. Reallocation became so important when funds were originally allocated to resources that were no longer needed. It allowed your teams the opportunity to change the original allocation. So to reclassify funds to cover additional expenses, the original expense must have, 1, have occurred between March 13, 2020 and September 30th of 2023. 2, be reasonable and necessary per federal guidelines, which does leave it up to a little bit of interpretation. Number 3, be allowable ESSER expenditures. So we've already covered that it was learning technology, mental health support, or infrastructure impacted by the pandemic. This made it an ESSER expenditure. And number 4, meet the intent of the ESSER statute, meaning it needed to be directly tied to the pandemic. So let's just recap a little bit here. ESSER funds could be used for a wide array of items. The most common use of ESSER funds was educational technology, purchasing device software, and improving connectivity for digital learning. Think devices like your Chromebooks and hotspots, and even software licensing like Zoom or Google Classroom setups. There was a lot of flexibility in what was purchased with ESSER funds, and it could include software to track and account for what was purchased. Now, as we talk about new inventory that was added, The US Department of Education actually conducted a survey and found that 92% of districts used ESSER funds to buy educational technology, and 68% of that technology was used to continue education during the pandemic closures, while 81% of districts bought mobile hotspots to address issues with internet connectivity. With unprecedented times came unprecedented spending and large numbers of inventory with new responsibilities to management. So let's take a look here at the funding that we see happened across ESSER 1, 2, and 3. We are totaling in the billions of dollars here, and the percentages that have been spent in ESSER 3 are only at 50% as of February 1st, 2024. So there's still a lot that is happening with allocating these funds to different purchases. Most notable in 2020, Chromebooks were passed out to families like candy on Halloween. There was pressure to continue learning when the world shut down. That pressure meant districts did what they could to get devices into the hands of students. Some districts even turned buses into hotspots in rural areas that needed more access to Wi-Fi. And some did reverse bus routes to drop off devices to families who need them. During that high-pressure time, tracking the assets that were purchased fell to the back burner, and this became the first time many districts performed a complete one-to-one device take-home initiative across all grades. Now, some of you have probably had one-to-one in your high schools or maybe even middle schools, but for a lot of our districts, this one-to-one was a new concept that they had goals to get to, and now we're being forced to. So over the next year or so, a lot of districts didn't feel confident in knowing what inventory was where. I would even venture to say most districts are just now starting to rebuild physical inventory best practices after the chaos of the pandemic. With ESSER coming to an end and state and federal entities requiring reporting and accountability for how those funds were used, it's imperative that districts get a handle on what they have, where it is, and how is it or was it being used. So multiple software companies provide inventory solutions, but figuring out which solution is going to fit your needs is key. Here are a few questions I recommend every district ask themselves as they look for a software partner. Number one, how confident am I in my inventory data currently? You could use percentages to say, you know what, today I'm feeling 50% confident. Number two, what resources do I have to increase my confidence? So if I'm at 50% confidence, how do I get to 60 to 70 to 80, ultimately trying to get to 100? And there are a few ways that you can break that down. Do you have named resources in my district or at your schools with responsibilities for inventory control? And could that mean additional resources conducting those physical inventories? Better, do we have a place where a third-party vendor can come on site and perform this physical inventory for us? Now, number three, what buy-in do I have with district leaders to better my inventory reporting? And buy-in can look like many different things. It could be budget sharing, resource sharing, and even accountability enforcement within your schools. Number four, do I have a partner in my financial department who can help me build confidence with financial reporting on my inventory? So this is key if you want to be able to track specially funded assets in the system to be able to respond to audits with reliable data. So take a second, think through these, try to get a feel for where you think you are at with your inventory best practices. Okay, now that you've mentally answered those questions, I would recommend asking any software vendors you are considering this one key question. How can you help me increase my confidence in my inventory data by helping input it into the system and providing best practices to maintain good data? A good inventory partner will have best practices they can share with you and a way to help you uphold data integrity for your system. Now, as you search for an inventory partner, partnering with a company that truly understands ESSER and specially funded assets is going to benefit you as you track devices across your schools and assignments to staff and students. Tracking location. So Who is this asset assigned to, or what room is this asset in, will make it easier to report on how the asset is used. Systems that track the status lifecycle of an asset from procurement through disposal, including where it was, how it was used, and who changed the status, will provide you key insights to how ESSER funds were used to help with continuing educational needs. Further, tracking important information such as PO number, manufacturer, vendor, account number, purchase date, and expiration date will give you a breadcrumb trail back to the special funds used to purchase assets. These primary fields will enable you to answer auditor questions about assets that were purchased with federal funds. You may or may not have this information at your fingertips already. If you do not, this is where your partnership with finance will come into play to pull some of this information out of their purchasing system and into a true inventory system that can track the use of your assets. And if you're already using an inventory system, but it doesn't allow you to track this information, it may be time to think about other solutions. And for a few of you who are still using spreadsheets, let's talk a little bit further of how we can get you into a more secure option for your inventory needs. Frontline Education's asset management system allows you the flexible tracking that you need to specifically funded assets and information regarding them, including locking down the movement or disposal of these assets, setting up approvals and restrictions on who can do what. Our system is specifically built for K-12 and your ever-growing needs. So as we talk about having an inventory system that tracks and monitors your inventory, it's also important we talk about the benefits of having a help desk system with them. So with all the Chromebooks and devices schools purchase with ESSER funds, it is key to not only track where the money was used, but also how to maintain those assets. An inventory system will track the asset's location, funding information, MDM fields, and even your status lifecycle. But to track and manage repairs, you need a good help desk system that connects with your inventory system. As we talk about managing your device fleet, you'll also want to prolong the life of your devices to the best of your ability. Students are notorious for breaking or losing devices, but there are still things you and your teams can do to help cut back on additional spending when the device is still within its OS life. With Frontline Education's asset management and help desk management, here are some of the ways you'll be able to get the most from your technology investment. First, you can quickly see which devices are past their end of life date and which devices are still viable. We recommend running reports twice a year at a minimum to make sure you have a full understanding of what is expired or close to its end of life. And also, this will help you inform what is needed for state testing and what devices you should be budgeting for over the next few years. Number 2, proactively image and update your devices. Keeping your firmware up to date ensures that your devices are secure and benefit from improved performance and capability to other software solutions your district uses. So setting and maintaining a schedule to check devices can be helpful to manage the full fleet. It can be daunting every summer to try to image and inspect every device. It may be helpful to break down your schedule by grade throughout the year, then conduct cosmetic checks to fix or prevent further incidents. And then the earlier these issues are identified, the easier it is to fix and prevent further accidents from providing education on how to avoid these issues. So number 3, also watch for trends on which devices require repairs over the years. This can be telling if you have certain manufacturers or models that cause more money to be spent on repairs or sending back to the manufacturer. The devices that seem more hardy and less likely to end up in the repair shop are the ones to consider budgeting for in the future to keep maintenance costs down. Number 4, hold students and staff accountable for malicious breaks. I know, this one's hard. And of course, your devices will have normal wear and tear. But running over a device, punching it like a football, or slamming devices on tables are all things we have seen in our schools. These types of breaks can be avoided. When these malicious breaks happen, the best way to recoup the funds needed for learning may be to hold your students accountable. And there's a few ways you can do that. So maybe offer insurance to students or parents at the beginning of the year to help cover costs of repairs. Track all of your breakages, whether it's malicious or not, to ensure that parents are aware of what is happening. and maybe charge fees for malicious breaks or on devices. These can be small to the full fee to recover the device. With Title I schools, this can be a hard feat to tackle since students may not have the funds and/or regulations may be in place where charges cannot be assigned. In these scenarios, detention or other penalties can be effective to ensure it doesn't happen again. Staff members are a little bit different. So for staff members, having principal buy-in is going to be key. I'm going to run through effective strategies I have seen other districts utilize. All of these strategies do require principal buy-in and support. One of the most effective ways we see staff members being held accountable is to have them perform inventory checks in their own classrooms and on their own assigned assets. Periodically spending no more than 30 minutes to make sure they have what they started the year with can be crucial to help them understand the importance of their items. Reporting statistics back to the schools to show how assets are moving around will highlight the work the schools are doing does not go unseen. This is also a good place for positive reinforcement to show up for your teams who are showing up for you. We've seen districts use gift cards for coffee, ice cream parties, and even matching inventory shirts to call out good inventory performance at the campus level. A little can go a long way to celebrate inventory wins. This celebration of wins can help minimize any malicious breaks happening from the staff side. Building a conscious culture that understands the importance of technology plays in your schools does not happen overnight. In-services will need to be held regularly, whether that's via webinar or visiting schools. These can touch on innovative ways to use technology or just best practices with technology or even training on how to use the technology they have. I understand resources are in demand, but being proactive and putting the time to minimize issues moving forward can be helpful to ease the stress on these resources. Now, we understand people can be clumsy or misuse technology often, whether that is a staff or a student. One of the best ways to help minimize those issues and prolong your device is protective gear. This can come in many different shapes and sizes. We have seen districts be successful in using protective cases and screen protectors. Rugged and high quality cases that fit the device model precisely will protect against drops, spills, and other incidences. And these are key to choosing which cases are going to work best for you. Making sure that there's a clear window on the back where the asset tag is will also help when it's time to do inventory. Screen protectors can also reduce the risk of screen damage. Having trained technicians put on the screen protector can prevent scratches and help minimize screen breaks. Some of our districts even offer padded carrying cases for students who have or even to purchase. These cases can help with the safe transport of devices between classes or school and home. Often breaks happen during transit, so to have a protective case and a carrying case will help prolong the use of this device. But no matter how protective you are in your investments, technology doesn't live forever. You and your team will need to proactively plan to request funds to replace technology as it ages out or even succumbs to wear and tear. Here are some tips to help you financially plan with your district to make sure your technology needs are not overlooked. Develop a long-term technology plan that provides strategic vision alignment with your district's education goals and objectives. Make sure to outline the expected lifespan of devices and your replacement schedule. This plan should include key stakeholders, including but not limited to your IT staff, administrators, finance teams, and even your school board. Get them involved early in the planning process. This will help ensure comprehensive input and buy-in for the long haul. Here are some steps to take to make sure you're set up for success. Part of the long-term technology plan should be your refresh cycles. Student Chromebooks are often on a 4-year refresh cycle, while staff devices can range anywhere from 5 to 7-year refresh cycles. Different categories can help stretch the refresh cycles out so not all refreshes are hitting at the same year, which can cause budgets to look inflated over time. Provide annual budgeting and forecasting for future years. Understanding what you have in an inventory will allow you to effectively budget for this year and next. Using historical data and current usage trends can help maximize your resources and provide accurate forecasting. Technology teams, the more reliable and accurate your forecast is, the more willing your colleagues in the finance department will be to take your budget seriously. So now you need to conduct an analysis of your total cost of ownership. For the best results, make sure to include hard costs, so your purchase price, accessories, warranties, things of that nature, and your soft costs, so maintenance, training, and support. This will help provide the total life cycle cost of a device, including initial purchase, maintenance, repairs, and even disposal or recycling. A full comprehensive breakdown will allow transparency across teams and provide visibility into what devices should be purchased for the future. Now, as you're doing this, you also want to conduct regular internal audits and inventory management. Maintain an accurate inventory of all devices, including their condition, location, and usage. A pro tip here is to use a standardized method for reporting on an asset condition. So this could be using a nomenclature like new, good, fair, poor, or the grading system ABC. By standardizing this, people will understand exactly what each category means, which will help it be less subjective. Conducting these regular audits to identify devices that are nearing the end of their useful life and plan for their replacement will give you more confidence in what you have and what you will need. Now, implementing maintenance and repair programs probably seem daunting, but if you implement a preventative maintenance program to extend the lifespan of your devices and reduce the frequency of replacements, you also will allow for your programs and your devices to live longer. So establish clear policies for repairs, including warranty coverage and repair turnaround times and cost responsibilities. This will help you be proactive with your technology fleet and stay ahead of all your needs. So as we wrap up our session today, it's important to understand your key takeaways. ESSER funds have provided an opportunity like never before to enhance technological capabilities of our schools and significantly impact the educational experience of students and staff alike. However, as these funds come to an end, the responsibility of maintaining, protecting, and updating this technology falls squarely on our shoulders. By establishing a robust system for insurance, repairs, and technology updates, you can ensure that laptops and other devices funded by ESSER remain functional and secure for years to come. This proactive approach will help you maximize the impact of the ESSER investment, extending the lifespan of your devices and ensuring that students and staff have reliable tools that they need to succeed. Remember, the key to success lies in taking proactive measures, safeguarding against damage, keeping pace with technology updates, and fostering a culture of accountability and care. By partnering with the right inventory and help desk management systems, you can streamline these processes, enhance your data accuracy, and improve overall device management. As we move forward, let us learn from best practices, share our successes, and continue to empower our school districts with the knowledge and tools necessary to thrive in this new era of technologically enhanced education. Thank you for your commitment to maintaining the technological advancements achieved with ESSER funds and for your dedication to providing a superior learning environment for all students. I'm confident that with the right strategies and partnerships in place, you will be able to navigate this transition successfully and continue to support your educational goals effectively. Thank you for your attention, and I look forward to seeing the positive impact of your efforts in the coming years. If you would like to know more about how Frontline Education can help you meet these goals, please click on this link. You'll learn more about Frontline's asset management and can request a demo or speak to someone at Frontline to better understand your needs.